But I'd like to hear the evidence
Well,
for the Greek and Roman.
I don't know if you've studied Mormonism very much.
Oh, I've studied a lot.
There are 11 eyewitnesses, and they
to the golden plates.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're
Yes,
going to compare
and then
golden plates to the resurrection of Jesus?
No, I'm just saying if you're a historian,
Yeah.
and what you're doing is you're saying we're going to trust eyewitnesses.
Okay, I'm fine with them seeing golden plates, but what does that tell
Four
us?
of them say they saw Moroni give them to him. 4 saw him.
Half
Actually
of
signed affidavits.
Half of them left the faith.
They left. No, they didn't. They
abandoned
left Joseph Smith.
They abandoned Joseph Smith,
But when they abandoned Joseph Smith, they continued to say that they saw Moroni.
Oh, dude!
Can't keep quiet when you start a riot.
This is the face you make right as Bart D. Ehrman is wrecking you. Just wrecking your religious bigotry in real time. Got our scripture notes up and running. All of the scriptural references used in this episode will be brought to you by scripturenotes.com. For a free trial to Scripture Notes, please visit the link in the description. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio. I am your host, Cardinellis. Today I'm joined in the studio by Luke Hansen, editor-in-chief of Ward Radio News. And today we're going to be talking about this guy, Bart D. Ehrman, the famed academic and kind of like the guru of the Dead Sea Scrolls, I would say, who a lot of evangelicals love to hate him, but he's the premier scholar on ancient scripture, I would say, right now in the modern day. Do you think that's a fair assumption?
More technically, it's textual criticism, which is trying to get back to what the original words of the text were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, for a lot of our anti-Mormon haters, Bart D. Ehrman, premier scholar on the subject, has basically all but endorsed the Book of Mormon. Like, you know, I mean, I know that a little tiny bit of a clickbait stretch right there, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, in this latest argument that we're going to go over right now, you're going to see that if you demand intellectual honesty, like it seems like Bart D. Ehrman does, and consistency in your arguments, if you want to start arguing for the resurrection of Jesus, you got to take into consideration eyewitness accounts, which means you got to take into consideration eyewitness accounts of the Book of Mormon. So there was a really cool goings on, or a really cool going on. Is that in the singular or the plural? I'm not sure.
It sounds more erudite in the plural, so I think you could get away with it even if it's not technically true.
Yeah, something happened with Bart D. Ehrman, the Book of Mormon, and a conversation that Luke Hansen was privy to. So just tell us what's going on, man. Hit us.
Yeah, this is a little complicated, so we're just going to set up what's going on here, what we're going to be reacting to before we get into it real quick. Okay, there's this site or this channel called, I think it's Premier Unbelievable.
Okay.
Essentially what's going on here is Bart Ehrman, and we do have to do this caveat carding because I know we had pumped him up a little bit.
Okay.
He is of the opinion like Jesus never claimed to be God, that Jesus didn't resurrect, like he is an atheist, and makes claims about the Bible that we wouldn't agree with. But he makes some interesting points here. And what it was a conversation between him and Justin Bass, who is a Christian.
Okay.
And they're going to have a little kerfluffle over Book of Mormon witnesses, like you said. Now, the video that we are watching is an evangelical, maybe he's not evangelical, but a Protestant debate coach.
Oh, wait a second. Is it this? Okay, hold on. Is it this video that I'm going to pull up right here? I'm going to put this on the screen so everybody can see it. But when you say Bart D. Ehrman v. Justin Bass, I just pulled this up instantaneously, and I want to make sure that we're talking about the right video here.
You can just hit skip.
Yeah,
it's already ready.
Once the commercial's over. Okay, cool. Is it this guy right here?
Yep. Yeah,
oh, dude.
That's Justin Bass.
Okay, you can just totally tell from the body language. Let me pose it.
Oh, no.
That guy right there, he's just kind of saying what he's thinking. But this dude right here, that guy right, is that Justin Bass, the dude with the slick back hair?
That's Justin Bass.
He is hating on the guy in front of him. He is loathing him.
Are you doing like body language expert right now?
Oh yeah. You can just tell. You can just absolutely tell, man. Yeah, look, that's the fake, like, oh, well, wouldn't you agree that this insert Christian dogma here?
Okay.
And that if you believe A, then you would have to believe what my version of the truth is, and then here's this guy probably just trying to say.
we can't bury the lead here because
fine.
There was this conversation. There's another debate coach, so a former pastor, former high school debate coach, who has a channel called Wise Disciple.
Okay,
And
cool,
so
cool.
I know it's going to be a little hard to understand, but we are going to be watching him watching this and reacting to it, and then we're going to react to him. Okay?
Okay, cool.
So, okay.
Oh,
that is
dude.
what it is. It's the pastor.
I already know how this is going. I already know how
Let's
this
play
is
it.
going,
Let's play
man.
it and see.
Okay, well, what clips? What
So
clips?
yeah, so clip number one. So
Okay.
clip number one called Standards for Witnesses. So this is where Bart Ehrman and Justin Bass are going to kind of discuss what standard we have to admit a witness. Because essentially what Justin Bass is saying is that there's these core facts about the witnesses that everybody agrees on, whether you're Christian, whether you're atheist, the witnesses of the resurrection, everybody agrees on this. But the only plausible conclusion from those core facts is that Christ actually did rise from the dead. Or at least the people were sincere. I haven't read his whole book, so I couldn't speak specifically to that, but that's his contention. And so Bart Ehrman is going to bring in the Book of Mormon witnesses is like, okay, sure, you say this when it applies to Jesus, but then why aren't you also saying it when it applies to Mormons? So let's actually hear it from their own mouth.
And you're talking about, this is Justin Bass, slick back Christian hair dude, right?
Yep.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
So let's-
These was all the guys that I grew up with, dude. Like, you have no idea, man. You have no idea. Okay. So here is Standard for Witnesses. Go.
To what degree do you agree that at least people claim to have seen the risen Jesus?
I think it's probably right. I mean, Paul certainly. Paul tells us that he did. The problem with these others, of course, is they don't tell us that. So we don't have, Peter didn't leave us writings where he said, I saw Jesus. James didn't leave us writings. We don't know who the 500 were. None of this. So what
Peter didn't say that he saw the risen Jesus. Does Ehrman mean that Peter didn't write it down? Like he didn't literally say that phrase in like 1st and 2nd Peter? Peter does talk about the resurrection of Jesus in his first epistle though, right? 1 Peter 1:3, blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who according to his great mercy has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Seems strange for Peter to do that, knowing that Paul had been claiming that Peter saw the risen Jesus, knowing that Luke was saying that Peter saw the risen Jesus. Both of these men were contemporary to Peter. And now Peter is saying that Jesus is resurrected in his own letter. Maybe it really happened.
Okay.
Isn't that the simplest explanation?
Okay.
So see, we track really well with what he's saying there. It's like, yeah, Peter said it. Here he strongly implied it. Here somewhere else he basically
They're
said it.
endorsing the product thereof.
Yeah. So it seems like we should conclude that Peter believed it, therefore the resurrection actually happened. So that's what Wise Disciple, I'm just going to call him Wise Disciple because that's the channel name.
Okay.
So that's what Wise Disciple is saying is a good standard of evidence right now in the video.
So let me guess. I just want to guess. Slick hairback dude, this guy, as well as Wise Disciple, because you got to come up with some kind of cool biblical name, right? You know? But so Slick hairback dude and Wise Disciple are going to be all about, you can infer this, you have to take these people at their word,
Yep.
and they're going to argue like a bunch of faithful, loving evangelicals until the Mormons come around, where they switch into atheist mode and they say, show me the CCTV footage, right?
So yeah, Bart's going to say, I see your resurrection witnesses and I'm going to raise you a Book of Mormon witness. So that's going to be the next clip.
Dude. Okay, so just skip to the next clip, you say, huh? Oh, I am so stoked to watch this. This is like, it's going to be a train
Well,
wreck.
and here's the thing. We're going to get into these witnesses.
Okay.
And this is going to be a video about what Josh Gailey has done before of, are the Book of Mormon witnesses and the Bible witnesses comparable or
Okay,
not?
all right, okay. So giving equal weight to evidence, clip 2, go.
My issue with this kind of bedrock thing is whether it's appropriate to consider these kinds of claims outside of other claims for other religious figures. Do we treat
Wait, by the way, just stop for a second. I've never seen a faker. They're so fake. They're so freaking fake. It's not funny. But anyway, we'll keep going.
do we treat them equally, or do we provide a kind of do we say, well, it's more likely true because it's in the Bible and less likely true if it's in the Mormon tradition? or if it's in the Muslim tradition, or if it's in ancient Greek and Roman mythology, or not just mythology, ancient Greek and Roman history. And so do you give equal weight to everything? And if so, then why is it that you prefer these witnesses to the others?
Okay.
Bart D. Ehrman! Should we baptize him now or later?
No. He doesn't believe that Jesus ever claimed he was the Son of God. We do. We do have big differences with Bart Ehrman here. But what did he say wrong just now? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And actually, Wise Disciple and Justin Bass are going to agree he didn't say anything wrong. So let's see where they take issue with what he's saying. So this is Justin Bass' response.
Because they have to.
Let's just play it, Cardin. Let's just play it.
Okay. What's number 3?
Number three. Clip number 3.
Okay, Justin.
So this is Justin Bass
So
responding.
my question would be, what is the evidence? You brought up Islam, you brought up Mormonism. Well, in Islam, this only supernatural really claim is to Muhammad. It's one eyewitness. And I agree with Deuteronomy. We shouldn't trust anything unless it's at least 2 or 3
Agreed.
witnesses. So we have 4.
Okay. That's fine, sure, whatever. I mean, I don't know if he's an authority on the Quran, to be honest with you. I've seen how these people have butchered the Book of Mormon, saying they have a works-based religion. And in 2nd Nephi, it says, even after all that you can do. So they've butchered the Book of Mormon so badly in their interpretation thereof. I don't know if what they're quoting from the Quran is real right now, but look, for the sake of argument, I'll listen to Justin Bass and his fake ohs and his slick back hair, and we'll just let him finish. I know this isn't your style, Luke. I'm sorry. But I grew up with these cats.
To pull back the curtain a bit, I'm like, Cardin, what energy level are you at right now? And he's like, I'm kind of in a food coma. I was like, okay, we're going to do this video so he doesn't get too overexcited during it. But apparently that didn't work out. We already blew that. So let's just go through it. Okay, wait. So Justin Bass was just talking about Muhammad. Now he's going to transition to Mormonism.
Okay,
so this is the rest of the clip.
4 that you agree with. In Christianity, when it comes to Mormonism, again, Joseph Smith is the only person to say that Moroni appeared to him, and he says Jesus and God the Father and a lot of other strange things.
I'm not sure, Justin.
But only one person, only one eyewitness in both those cases, both those religions you brought up. But
What now?
No.
These people,
Play it again.
They call themselves experts,
I know,
and they don't get
I know.
That's like saying, this is literally like saying, those Americans, they're a bunch of stupid, filthy, horrible people, because that Georgina Washington, and that Constitution that they wrote, it says in the articles of the Confederation of the Bracket that they have a First Amendment which codifies tyranny. And it's like, what? You can't pronounce it. It's like when Donald Trump goes out and he says, I'm a big Christian. In 2 Corinthians, it says, it's like, oh, you mean 2 Corinthians, bro? You just, they so out themselves as absolute charlatans. And the hilarious part is they claim that they're fighting charlatans. So, okay, let's let them
let's
finish.
roll it back maybe 10 seconds or so.
We're going to go to the beginning. It's only 30 seconds long. We're going to hear them out.
only supernatural really claim is to Muhammad. It's one eyewitness. And I agree with Deuteronomy. We shouldn't trust anything unless it's at least 2 or 3 witnesses. So we have 4 that you agree with. In Christianity, when it comes to Mormonism, again, Joseph Smith is the only person to say that Moroni appeared to him, and he says Jesus and God the Father and a lot of other strange things.
I'm not sure, Justin.
But only one person. Only one eyewitness in both those cases, both those religions you brought up. But I'd like to hear the evidence.
Well,
for the Greek
I don't
and
know.
Roman.
I don't know if you've studied Mormonism very much.
Oh, I've studied a lot.
There are 11 eyewitnesses, and they all
To the golden plates.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're
Yes.
going to compare
And then
golden plates to the
4
resurrection of Jesus?
No, I'm just saying, if you're a historian,
Yeah.
and what you're doing is you're saying we're going to trust eyewitnesses.
Okay, I'm fine with them seeing golden plates, but what does that tell
4
us?
of them say they saw Moroni give them to him. 4 saw him.
Half
Who
of
actually
them-
signed affidavits.
Half of them left the faith.
They left. No, they didn't. They
abandoned
left.
Joseph
They
Smith.
left Joseph Smith.
Well, they abandoned Joseph Smith, yeah.
But when they abandoned Joseph Smith, they continued to say that they saw Moroni.
Oh, dude. He is caught in the Lou Perez cycle.
No, he got caught.
I'm not talking about Justin Bass.
Oh, what are you saying?
Bart D. Ehrman, I got a lot of respect for him here because Lou Perez did a hilarious comedy routine in 2016. I interviewed him for one of my terrestrial radio programs at FM 98.1 called Problem Solver Politics. And he did this hilarious skit where he said, "Stop making me defend Donald Trump." Like, I think he's a libertarian comedian or something. I don't even remember his political leanings, but he did this hilarious skit where like he's going to work and in the elevator, you know, he presses the button to go up and all of a sudden people are saying like, did you hear Donald Trump say that there are very good Nazis on all sides of a swastika? And he was like, well, okay, I'm not a big Donald Trump fan, but like he didn't actually say are you a Trump lover? No, I believe in correcting the record, but ding! And they like wouldn't go in the elevator with him, right? Mm-hmm. And then he walks to like the water cooler and there's two people standing by the water cooler and they're like, oh my gosh, did you hear Donald Trump say that like all Mexicans should be shot up against the wall and we're going to build a mass grave of Mexicans or something like that, you know? And he was like, no, actually, no. He said that we should build and he was going and correcting all of these tropes that people say about Donald Trump, where they're just saying something factually incorrect. And the second you want to correct the record to be intellectually honest, then all of a sudden the activists like Justin Bass accuse you of being with them or being not. Like they're so brain damaged by their hatred that they will literally engage in pseudoscience in the name of science, okay? And pseudo history in the name of history just to be right about their hatred. And it's literally the utter premise of evangelical anti-Mormon apologetics right now. So is that 40% Cardin? Or is
no? That was close to 100% Cardin. Actually,
100%
that was a pretty big digression there.
Okay,
we've got to address a couple points in this video. Number one, he starts off trying to say that there's only one, and Bart Ehrman. It's like very patient. He's kind of sitting there while he finishes out. It's like, so I don't know how much you've studied about Mormonism. Yeah. Look, dude, that is your cue to just say, okay, what are you going to tell me? That's your cue to say that. Yeah! is when somebody's, but instead, did you catch what he said when Bart Ehrman was like, so I don't know how much you've studied about this, but did you catch what Justin Bass said?
I've studied plenty.
Yeah,
I've studied plenty.
I've studied. And he's like, okay, so there was 11 witnesses to the gold plates. Well, I don't care if they said Smith had gold plates. Are you saying that's like the resurrection? That's point number one. Everybody just kind of glosses over this and says, well, yeah, we can just poof away the gold plates. Like,
he says,
sure,
no.
All the 8.
Moroni, 4 of them said Moroni gave them to them.
I think Bart Ehrman pivoted too early and said, oh, well, Moroni, how about that one? And kind of he left the 11 witnesses territory real quickly and moved on to seeing the angel Moroni. I don't think you can do that because how do you explain the presence of gold plates with characters engraved on them? We've had Jonah on this podcast that explained the amount of time, effort, and money a middle class person with access to Amazon and friends, and he didn't have to keep it a secret, and it still was a massive investment of time, effort, and money and modern technology to produce a copy of these gold plates. So you can't just like poof away, oh, well, if he had gold plates, it doesn't matter type of thing. They did that. I think we just need to emphasize both of them should not have gotten off that point so quickly. But now we're going to move over to the Moroni fact with the 4 witnesses. And what he means is like Joseph Smith and the 3 other witnesses. I don't think we finished this clip. Did we finish it?
Wise Disciples, clip number 4?
Yeah. Did we finish it all the way? Clip number 3?
Clip number 3, I do believe that we did indeed finish.
I feel like we got the gist of it.
But actually, let's watch it just to make sure.
What is the evidence? You brought up Islam. You brought up.
They give them to him. 4 saw him.
Who
actually signed affidavits.
Half of them left the faith.
They left. No, they didn't. They left Joseph Smith.
Well, they abandoned Joseph Smith. Yeah.
But when they abandoned Joseph Smith, they continued to say that they saw Moroni.
See? Okay, we did get to the end. All right. So now we got to go into what? Next clip?
Yeah, so just got to emphasize, don't dig yourself in a hole when you don't need to. If somebody who knows more says, I don't know if you've studied this, that's when you just say, what are you going to tell me? And just not act like you know everything. Number 2, we can't back off from the gold witness evidence, the gold plates witnesses. And move to Moroni. Gold plates witnesses are very strong. Moroni backs them up even more. So we just ran away from them and are acting like if we disprove the 3 witnesses, we've disproved the whole thing. Here's what Wise Disciple is going to do. So this is clip number 4, and here's how he decides to bunk the 3 witnesses to the angel Moroni giving Joseph, or not giving Joseph Smith the plates. That's what they mistakenly said. They were witnesses to him giving Joseph Smith the plates. It was really that the angel Moroni came and showed the three witnesses the plates and then said Joseph Smith gave a accurate translation of this.
Yeah.
Essentially.
This is the face you make right as Bart D. Ehrman is wrecking you. Just wrecking your religious bigotry in real time in front of your face. So, all right, let's see what Homeboy has to say in response.
But when they abandoned Joseph Smith, they continued to say that they saw Moroni. So,
That's not true. You can look into this, and I encourage you to, although that's a
we
rabbit
will.
trail. LDS history is shoddy because they will only affirm certain things these witnesses said, and then they will downplay or ignore other things. The issue with these three witnesses to Moroni, apart from Joseph Smith,
Hey, at least he pronounced it right.
That's true. Even Bart Ehrman said it wrong. Bart Ehrman said Moroni.
Well, I think Bart Ehrman was just trying to mirror what Jacob
Maybe.
Bass was
Neither
saying.
here nor there.
Not Jacob Bass. Oh, was it Jacob
Justin.
Bass?
Justin
Bass.
Bass.
Yeah. It just reminds me of Gossip Girl. Oh, you might have hooked yourself a bass. There's a character named, I think, is it Jacob Bass? I can't remember the character name, but his last name is Bass. So anyway, all right, let's see what Homeboy Apologist here has. So desperate to be Michael Knowles. These Christian apologists are just so
Oh, this
desperate.
is 100% Cardin again.
Oh my gosh. Okay, keep going.
apart from Joseph Smith, is they do change their testimony over time with regard to what they saw.
Oh.
And all three were excommunicated from the church and were tarnished in terms of their reputation by the LDS Church and its leaders. Joseph Smith called David Whitmer a dumb beast. Martin Harris was said by Mormons to have a lying, deceptive spirit. He was of his father, the devil, and that the wrath of God was on him.
Oh, this is
Why?
such
Well,
settled
one of
science.
the things Martin Harris did was he recanted his testimony. He said he never actually saw the plates, even though he originally said he did. Whitmer did the same thing, said he never actually saw the plates, changed his story a few times on that. And then these gentlemen went on to make other grand claims that could not be substantiated. You see where this is going?
No, I don't see where this is going because you didn't back any of this up. I do not see where this is going, wise disciple.
Dinosaurs are so real. Dinosaurs are real because Joan of Arc saw them. And then Genghis Khan fought them. And Alexander the Great rode one.
Now imagine you
and I just said this.
Now imagine you and I are hanging out, Cardin. Okay? Imagine we're hanging out and some situation arises in which I am unjustly accused of a terrible crime, a heinous crime. You come in as a witness
Yeah.
to that trial, okay? And the prosecuting lawyer stands up and says, ladies and gentlemen, I have text messages between Luke Hansen and Cardin Ellis where Luke Hansen said, Cardin, you are wrong. Obviously, Luke Hansen believes that Cardin Ellis is wrong on everything. How can we believe Cardin Ellis's testimony?
Trent Horn is so right.
Like,
they argue like atheists when they're oh my gosh, they argue like atheists when it's convenient for them.
Yeah, we could go into these grand claims that they made afterwards. I'm not even sure specifically what he's referring to. Maybe Martin Harris briefly joining some breakaway church.
No, this is their spaghetti technique. They write a bunch of crap in these evangelical tracts, these anti-Mormon tracts, that is hearsay. 90% of it is hearsay from the 1850s.
Mm-hmm.
They were hemorrhaging members of their churches to the missionaries of our churches. And so they literally made up a bunch of anti-Mormon crap. 90% of it was just crap. 10% of it was kind of interesting, like, oh, okay, your interpretation of this verse in the Bible would seem to actually contradict this verse in the Book of Mormon, but that's because you haven't read this other verse over there and this other verse over here that actually informs this one. So, if you want to sit down and talk about it, we can hash it out, and maybe at least as friends and buddies, we can have a mutual understanding of where our faith comes from. And I don't think you're crazy. You don't think I'm crazy. Like, that's like 10% of evangelical apologetics. The rest is rehashing tired tropes that are pseudo history from the pastors in the 1850s that literally just invented up a bunch of garbage to fight Mormons that were leaving their congregations for ours.
So here's the facts. Joseph Smith and David Whitmer, Martin Harris, and Oliver Cowdery at different points did have a certain level of falling out. That doesn't mean that an experience they had 10 years prior didn't actually happen, especially when all three of those people, contrary to what Wise Disciple said, I'd love to see the firsthand, because Cardin, you were talking about hearsay, the firsthand evidence of them denying their claims. I don't believe it's out there. Wise Disciple, show us if it's not, but I don't know what you're talking about. They had fallings out with Joseph Smith, but they continued to affirm their testimony. And he said that Martin Harris denied his testimony because, did he say it was spiritual eyes? Is that what he said in the thing? It sounded like he went that route.
I think he was going towards that trope. Yeah.
Well, at least if he was going to claim that Martin Harris denied, he'd have to go the spiritual witness route. But that's still Martin Harris affirming it in another way other than the physical. So that's not him denying his testimony. That's the physical side of it. But we don't even need to go there because Martin Harris never actually did that fully. Martin Harris seemed to be under the impression, and he was really the only one out of like the 11 or the 3, including Joseph Smith, so kind of like 4, who was really emphasizing kind of the Moses, Book of Deuteronomy, saying you can't see the face of God and live. You have to be like spiritually transfigured or in a spiritual state to see it. So when he was explaining the plates, very often we have many secondhand accounts of people talking about the way that Martin Harris would explain his witness to the plates to them. And he would very often say, you see this hand here? You see that axe over there? Do you see that fence over there? And they would say, yes. And he was like, with the certainty that you see that hand or the fence or the axe is the certainty to which I saw the plates. We have so many accounts of Martin Harris kind of taking them through this process to explain the level to which he believed that he saw the plates. Okay, let's go to David Whitmer. He said that David Whitmer denied his testimony, and maybe he's talking about what happened prior to David Whitmer later in life. So he's been out of the church for decades. I think Brigham Young is dead at this point, and the saints are all in Salt Lake. So he's not being threatened. He's not under any sort of social pressure. He's been like the mayor of his town, a very successful and well-respected person. This is him in 1881, and he was responding to somebody who had claimed that he denied his testimony.
Yeah.
So once again, we had a second-hand account of somebody claiming to deny his testimony. And then this is David Whitmer, towards the end of the life, himself reiterating what he reiterated in over 50 interviews that you can look up, Wise Disciple, and over 50 interviews with newspaper people, a lot of them not Latter-day Saints, that he did see the plates, that his witness was true. I'm going to put the exact quote up here, read it to you. He says, to the end thereof that he may understand me now, if he did not then, talking about John Murphy, who had said that he denied his testimony, that he may understand now, if he did not then, that the world may know the truth. I wish now, standing as it were in the very sunset of life and in fear of God, once for all to make this public statement, that I have never at any time denied that testimony, or any part thereof, which has so long since been published with that book as one of the 3 witnesses. Those who know me best well know that I have always adhered to that testimony, and no man may be misled or doubt my present views in regard to the same. I do again affirm the truth of all my statements as then made and published. He who hath ear to hear, let him hear. It was no delusion. What is written, and he that readeth, let him understand. I will say once more to all mankind, and I just need to point out here, I've even cut this down short.
Yeah.
The level to which he's going in and re-emphasizing this is me cutting it down short. So I continue. I will say once more again to all mankind that I have never at any time denied that testimony or any part thereof. I also testify to the world that neither Oliver Cowdery or Martin Harris at any time ever denied their testimony. They both died. He outlived them. They both died, reaffirming the truth of the divine authenticity of the Book of Mormon. I was present at the deathbed of Oliver Cowdery, and his last words were, "Brother David, be true to your testimony of the Book of Mormon."
Dude, I'm telling you, this guy jokingly, not even jokingly,
So,
in cruel
that's not-
fashion said, oh, that's not true. And Mormonism is a rabbit hole. But despite his smug little face and his Michael Knowles collar, these people talk about morality all day long until they throw morality out the window because they're about to talk about members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Morality only applies to these people when they're talking about anything except for Catholics and members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and sometimes Jehovah's Witnesses. Like the biggest hypocrites North America has ever seen are North American evangelical Protestant frickin' apologists, dude. So anyway, are we going to go to the next clip?
You know what? Let's do one Martin Harris, a little sentence from a reprint of a letter that he sent once again later in life after he left the church. Quote, I do say that the angel showed me the plates containing the Book of Mormon. Further, the translation I carried to Professor Anthon was copied from those same plates. I can give it, if you require, 100 witnesses to the proof of the Book of Mormon. So that's Martin Harris.
All right, man. So smug Michael Knowles wannabe
But he
didn't
continues.
find that in the rabbit hole he went down.
so this whole,
you know,
when he said in their testimony changed over time, I don't know what he's saying here.
no, they throw spaghetti against
Yeah.
the wall. They throw spaghetti against the wall, and then Mormons try to be ecumenical, and they try, and they're so desperate. We're so desperate to bend over backwards for people and go along to get along and be good Christians that when somebody just throws 10 spaghetti lies against the wall, we pick them up one by one and say, oh, well, maybe he was referring to this. And oh, maybe he was referring to this.
Well,
no,
even-
this guy is a liar. He's a liar. He's a filthy hypocrite. He only talks morality until Mormons are the topic du jour.
Even the sentence itself doesn't make sense to say their testimony changed over time. Like, are you trying to say that all three of them changed their testimony in the same direction over time? And where's the paper trail for that? Like, what do you, did all three of them get together and say, now we're going to change it into this. Now we're going to change it to this. And where are these paper, like, it doesn't make any sense, but he just says it so confidently that I'm afraid the like 40, 50,000 people that watched this video just kind of nodded along and didn't even notice how much evidence you'd have to give to actually claim that.
You're not just
let's go to number 5.
Yeah, you're not just disproving Joseph Smith. You're disproving thousands of historians that have analyzed this.
Ooh, you know what?
every
We're
other
going to
angle.
get to this. No, we're going to get to this, Cardin. He's going to say that. But let's go to his number 5 witnesses, wise disciples witness debunk part 2, because he continues on why we shouldn't trust the witnesses of the Book of Mormon.
Okay, as I'm looking this up, guys, quick plug for Josh Gailey's book. It's called Witnessing Miracles, Historical Evidence for the Resurrection and the Book of Mormon. I'm literally going to send a copy of this to Bart D. Ehrman because I'm telling you, yeah, that book too. Like, this has been covered. Apparently, see, when he says I've been down the rabbit trail and their history doesn't make sense, it's because he only reads the recycled lies from the evangelical fake divinity school syllabi. You know, he only reads their version of Mormon history. And yeah, their version of Mormon history is completely incoherent because they lie. Like, we need to start realizing evangelicals don't believe in bearing false witness unless you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Then it's okay.
If you go into Google, you know how like they can be disproved with the 30-second Google search?
Yeah.
One of the rules of anti-Mormon. Just type in to Google right now, Book of Mormon witnesses debunked. You know, this would seem to be the Google search that one would make.
Okay.
If
doing it right
you were
now.
to want to find the evidence that they've been debunked.
Okay, Book of Mormon witnesses debunked. And
So videos pop up first.
Yeah, shut it
but
out.
if you go down to like the first actual result, there it is right there before the Reddit one.
oh my gosh.
Before the Reddit one.
Book of Mormon witnesses all later denied its truthfulness.
Click on it.
Bible.ca.
Click on it.
Okay, let's see.
Look how reputable that looks.
Oh my gosh.
What a fountain of knowledge.
Oh my gosh. Like this is what this guy is reading.
I think so. Like I was reading, and I think this is what Mike Winger used as well. Like
well, and here it is,
basically
'cause
all
look.
these points. Yeah, basically all the points that he comes
Look,
up
false
with.
witness number 1, Martin Harris. False witness number 2, David Whitmer. False witness number 3, Oliver Cowdery. And it's like this Boy Scout project of a 1993 website is more credible in their eyes because it tells them what they want to hear via confirmation bias instead of like actual books written by this guy. He's not a member of our faith. He's not a member of our faith. He graduated from Penn State's archaeology department, the most prestigious archaeology program in freaking North America. And now he's writing parallels about the witnesses to the resurrection and the witnesses to the Book of Mormon, the Golden Plates, Moroni, the angel Moroni, and the first vision of Joseph Smith, and Jesus Christ himself, who restored the keys to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So it's like,
Yeah.
you are not, they always lie. They lie about being authorities. You know what I'm saying? The only person in this picture that's actually an authority on anything is Bart D. Ehrman himself. Like, the only person that's an actual authority on anything is Bart D. Ehrman himself. So next clip. Let's go to the next clip, see what they got to say.
If Ehrman wants to say, well, let's look at other religious claims to miracles, then he's going to have to notice that there is a qualitative difference between the ethos of, say, Peter, Paul, and James, because these men were tortured and died for their testimony, never recanting, never being excommunicated from the Christian church.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like Sidney Rigdon and Martin Harris. Well, actually, no. Who was the one that had TBI because he was beaten so badly when he was dragged out of the house? Joseph Smith had his children die from exposure when they tried to tar and feather and
I
emasculate him.
think that's Sidney Rigdon.
Yeah, Sidney Rigdon, I
it's-
know, had TBI. But for heaven's sakes, John Taylor was shot. He had to have a surgeon
Well,
take
no,
him.
let's go to the Book of Mormon witnesses themselves. Actually, let's let him finish.
Okay.
And then we're going to show that he just isn't informed on the Book of Mormon witnesses.
Joseph Smith died a martyr's death. He was assassinated, you Michael Knowles wannabe. Like, this guy runs zero risk in his life being an apologist. Zero risk. Live in an evangelical community, they find out you're Mormon, they'll fire you. Me and my wife were denied housing by guys dressed just like him, saying this apartment complex is for real Christians. You want to talk the ethos? Oh, the ethos of the Bible? The ethos of the Christian North American evangelical Bible is motherfucking religious bigotry. That's what it is. Am I going too far, Luke? Is it?
I think a lot of viewers know your feelings on the subject already.
Okay,
And so if we
fine,
just
fine.
get
We'll
to
go
like the
back.
actual quotes and stuff debunking it, it might be more efficient.
Okay, you're right. Here we
This
go.
is why I was trying to get a 30% card in so we could get like a little bit of rants and then like a lot of
Okay, here we go.
Their testimony, never recanting, never being excommunicated from the Christian church. And Ehrman knows this. He has to know that. He's a historian, right? That's his thing.
Okay, so now he's and he goes on. I didn't play the whole thing, but essentially he's kind of like, he's probably not an honest actor because he knows all these things that I read on the Bible.ca website that looks so professional. So let's go into this a little bit. I actually have to go back a bit and talk about Martin Harris because he said they made crazy claims and they believed crazy things and they were crazy people who couldn't be trusted. We actually have a pretty good record of the process that Martin Harris went through to determine if because he was like a financial backer of the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
First a believer and then a financial backer. Do you know the process that he went through to get to that point, Cardin? I wasn't quite, I had heard these things individually, but I hadn't realized putting them all together what Martin Harris actually did to determine it. There's a great book, by the way. So first, Martin Harris started hearing the stories. Okay. He talked to his other family members to see if they seemed to believe there could be some plausibility to it. So the first thing he did is heard about the Book of Mormon. He conferred with other people to say, does this sound absolutely crazy? Like, I'm kind of interested in this. Are you interested as well? So he kind of tested around to make sure he's not crazy. Then he goes to Joseph Smith and he interviews each of the family members individually. So he gets their stories independent from each other to see if they all match up. Whoa. So he does that.
He was seriously
yeah.
A/B
So he
testing.
does. Yeah. So he does that, and then it's like, okay, it seems like they're all telling the same story here. Only after that does he go to the plates, like the box that the plates are in, and lifts them up, and is like, yep, that object that they described appears to be the same thing that's in this. And he even has a line that he told somebody or wrote down where he said, what's in this box has to be either gold or lead. And I know that Joseph Smith doesn't have enough money to buy 60 pounds of lead. So he's going through like this process. He's going through this step-by-step thing. And then he's pretty convinced at that point. But then he, at one point, switches out the stone in the hat with Joseph Smith. So he tells this story of finding a stone that looked like the stone Joseph was using in the creek bed. He switches it out. Joseph Smith tries to translate with the Urim and Thummim, seer stone, whatever one you want to call it. And he's like, Martin, why can't I translate? And then Martin tells him, oh, sorry, I was like running an experiment on you. You passed. Good job. And, Joseph.
Yeah,
"Wow, come
I
on."
do remember that one. Yeah.
And
I think
then
he said
he's-
it's as dark as Egypt in here or something. Didn't he say?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the phrase. Like I remember he Joseph Smith
Okay.
was taken aback. Was like, what's
And
going on?
Yeah, and so then he also is the one that's like, hey, Joseph, how about you write some of the characters down here, and I'll take them to professionals in New York City or thereabouts and see if they concur that these appear to be ancient characters. And so he goes and he does that test, and that's why these evidences were big deals to him, because in that quote that I read before, he said, yeah, I saw the angel, and also I had Professor Anthon back me up. So even in that quote, he's doing like this multiple, like the 5 witness model of Jacob Hansen. He's kind of hitting what's all the ways that I can test this with,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
testing it to the point that the Lord in certain places is kind of chastising him for like, dude, you're at the level to be able to have faith in this already, and I need you to start like exercising the faith instead of trying to run all these tests all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's Martin Harris, and like that's the record that we have of him.
Yeah.
And so to just say like, oh, he was just some kind of like crazy religious zealot guy who believed Joseph Smith for a while, but then went and believed other things and changed his story and said it wasn't true. Like, no, that wasn't Martin Harris.
yeah, this was a
But-
guy doing legitimate market research.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But let's go. So he brought up the persecution thing now.
Okay, all right.
Oh, these witnesses, they weren't persecuted or au contraire,
Not
unfortunately.
even au contraire. That's such a bigoted, crappy thing to say to the
Yeah.
thousands of people whose homes were burned and family were slain and were driven out of their home. There was an extermination order in this entire state of Missouri against Mormons. And that's something Bart D. Ehrman knows, but little Michael Knowles wannabe, what's his name? Wise disciple.
I feel like we're being overly mean to Michael Knowles in this episode, which I was not expecting.
No,
coming
Michael
into
Knowles
it.
is great. I'm just saying his
Okay.
Kirkland signature knockoff shirt wearer is not.
Oh my.
Michael Knowles is great, dude. It's like, yeah, if you're trying to be Kirkland signature Michael Knowles, diet Michael Knowles, at least look better. Geez, I can't stand these guys, man. Of course, I probably made that amply clear. So let's finish watching.
Wait. So we haven't done the persecution part yet. So here's
Oh, really?
So here's Martin Harris on his deathbed. He said, had I been willing to perjure myself and sworn falsely to the testimony that I now bear, I could have been a rich man, but I could not have testified other than I had done and am now doing, for these things are true.
Wow.
I could have been a rich man, but I gave that up because that would have been a lie. Here's David Whitmer. When he was asked if he would sell the manuscript, no, I consider these things sacred, and I would not part or barter with them for money.
Wow.
So here's William McClellan, one of the apostles, and he's reporting on a conversation that he had with Oliver Cowdery and David Whitmer when they were both hiding from the mobs that had offered an $80 bounty for their capture. To put this into perspective, that was about 6 months of wages for a farm laborer in the 1830s. So the bounty was what was the equivalent of 6 months' wages for a farm worker. And this is the point at which William McClellan said to them, quote, "You know that our lives are in danger every hour. If the mob only catch us, tell me in the fear of God, is that Book of Mormon true?" Cowdery looked at me with solemnity depicted in his face and said, "Brother William, God sent his holy angel to declare the truth of the translation of it to us, and therefore we know. And though the mob kill us, yet we must die declaring its truth." David said, "Oliver has told you the solemn truth, for we cannot be deceived. I most truly declare unto you its truth."
Wow.
Here's Hiram Page. He was one of the 8 witnesses. Some young men ran down to Hiram Page and commenced beating him with whips and clubs. Finally, one of them said to him, "If you will deny that damned book, we will let you go." Said he, "How can I deny what I know to be true?" Then they pounded him again. When they thought he was about to breathe his last, one of the more intelligent among them said, "I believe the damn fool will stick to it though we kill him. Let us let him go."
Wow, dude.
Here's David Whitmer. So David Whitmer's one of the 3.
Yeah.
The commanding officer addressed the prisoners, threatening them with instant death unless they denied the Book of Mormon and confessed it to be a fraud, at the same time adding that if they did so, they might enjoy the privileges of citizens. David Whitmer hereupon lifted up his hands and bore witness that the Book of Mormon was the word of God.
Based.
Then, of course, there's Hiram. So we're moving over to the 8 witnesses now. And I'll add that this one that I'm going to read is a first-hand witness. Second-hand witnesses can be pretty reliable. But if you want to just offhand dismiss those other, no, that never happened because that was a second-hand witness.
Then you get rid of half your arguments for the Bible.
Yeah. So if you want to dismiss all of that, let's go to Hiram Smith. This was actually himself writing this. He said, having given my testimony to the word of the truth of the Book of Mormon, the renewal of the everlasting covenant and the establishment of the kingdom of heaven in these days, and having been brought into great afflictions and distress for the same, I thought that it might be strengthening to my beloved brethren to give them a short account of my sufferings for the truth's sake. I thank God that I felt a determination to die, rather than deny the things which my eyes had seen, which my hands have held, and which I have borne testimony to. Wherefore my lot has been cast, and I can assure my beloved brethren that I was enabled to bear as strong a testimony when nothing but death presented itself, as ever I did in my life. And of course, 5 years later, he would prove that he wasn't fibbing right there and would actually die, reading and prophesying or teaching from the Book of Mormon until the day before his death.
Dude, that is hardcore. A sacrifice that, these wannabes will never understand. They'll never understand. So here's the next clip. Let's see what they got to say.
Jesus.
Let's stick with
But
Moroni.
that isn't proof that it happened.
Right.
Who
And
else
that's the
has
difference.
Moroni appeared to other than those people in history?
We're talking about a particular event. Was Jesus raised from the dead and a particular
But other things can support another event, right? So if Jesus is appearing to people, for example, all throughout history, if we have
That's a separate argument.
I'm just giving you my reasoning that
I
why
understand.
Moroni's not convincing to me.
I understand,
All right.
but I don't think you've listened to my case here.
Okay.
So in one sense, I'm actually on.
Okay.
So Justin Bass tries to start to pivot and say, okay, I mean, the witnesses and the other witnesses and stuff, and I'm not doing too good at making my case here because I don't know Mormonism as well as I claimed to at the beginning. So let's start pivoting over and talk about, well, a lot of other people throughout history have claimed to have miraculous appearances of Jesus to them. And to his credit, Bart Ehrman's, hold on. You're bringing up a different line of evidence, these supernatural visionary appearances after the fact from people who didn't previously know Jesus. Because that's the whole thing with the disciples, is the 12 knew him. They saw him in the flesh. And so if they saw him in the flesh after he died, that would be very strong for the resurrection. Okay. And to his credit, wise disciples actually going to, if we keep playing it, he's going to say, yeah, actually, Ehrman takes the point here because Justin Bass was trying to pivot onto a non-related topic.
Oh, so he's going to go from just, total intellectual dishonesty. He's going to redeem himself a little bit here, you think?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Okay, so
I have to pick my battles.
you have to pick your battles. Okay. We're going to watch the clip one more time, the very second half, and we'll see.
A particular
But other things can support another event, right? So if Jesus is appearing to people, for example, all throughout history, if we have
That's a separate argument.
I'm just giving you my reasoning that
I
why
understand.
Moroni's not convincing to me.
I understand,
All right.
but I don't think you've listened to my case here.
Okay.
So in one sense, I'm actually on Ehrman's side. I don't know what ongoing sightings of Jesus is going to do to undermine the claims to have seen Moroni, But I'm not on Ehrman's side in a sense because I think he's manipulatively framing the discussion to make it more advantageous to his position.
Oh, heaven forbid, in a debate, you try and advantageously frame your position, okay? Oh, and heaven forbid that you actually bring up a good point.
Yep.
So, all right. So we go to the next clip right here. Go to the next clip.
Yeah, let's go.
Hey, and we give credit where credit is due here. There was a small breakthrough. Just, he's like, I kind of like this intellectual honesty thing. Like, I think I'm going to do this a little bit more
Oh my
often.
gosh.
I think I'm going to just stop being a religious bigot for like 3 seconds. And then all of a sudden he got it out of his system. He's like, okay, back to where we belong.
For the record, wise disciple, I don't think you're completely intellectually honest.
You mean intellectually dishonest?
Cardin. I mean, sorry, that was Freudian. Freudian. Cardin has some baggage that he's bringing into this, and I honor and respect that. I see you, Cardin.
You validate my trauma.
Yeah. Yes. I'll sit with you through this. At the same time, wise disciple, I think you could, maybe read this book. It's not too thick. It's been out for a long time. You can disagree with, actually, let's do a little digression. Richard Lloyd Anderson has a very interesting theory here, where in terms of leaving the church, he says the fact that the 3 witnesses left the church is in a way a evidence that it actually happened, that their witness of the Book of Mormon actually happened. Why? Because the fact that they were chosen as a witness to the Book of Mormon was a very elevated position in the church. And it fed the ego. Because it's like, I'm one of the people that saw the angel. You other people are not the people who saw the angel. I was here from the beginning. I was the one that saw the angel. And so it gives them an expectation that they should have more of a role in the church, be more at the head of the church. And when Joseph was like, no, there's only one prophet, and it's me, and I'm the one that's receiving messages, that caused some of the friction that caused these men to depart. And so if they hadn't actually had that strong spiritual witness, they wouldn't have had that kind of ego boost that would make them get into these confrontations with Joseph. You can agree or you can disagree with that theory, but it is an interesting theory. And I think from our perspective as believing Latter-day Saints, it's a pretty compelling, interesting thing that I hadn't considered before.
It's not even our perspective as believing Latter-day Saints. It's our perspective as the people that have simply read the history books instead of whatever weird manufactured photocopies from an evangelical or, the website Bible.ca that looks like a 1996 Boy Scout computer merit badge
I don't
website.
know if it looks like it might actually be.
Yeah, it's like the only difference, it's not even about belief and us like believing. It's like they're signed affidavits. Like we believe that Moroni appeared to these 4 witnesses in the same way that I believe some court case from 1885 where 4 witnesses said, oh, we saw these bad people in the Ku Klux Klan, go lynch that man. Oh, we saw these 4 people rob that convenience store and burn it to the ground. Oh, we saw Miss O'Leary's cow tip over the kerosene lamp that started the Great Chicago Fire, and we'll sign the affidavits. This is basic history, basic ethics of forensics and evidence in police work. This isn't even about faith or belief. It's about just facts, history, affidavits.
We're actually going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to what you're talking about there.
Okay.
But first, let's finish out
next clip.
Yeah. So number 6.
That would be 2. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that in the case of Moroni giving Joseph Smith the plates, we have 4. So if the idea is that you trust eyewitnesses who swear to what they saw, and that we're doing this impartially, okay.
You could actually see, if you go back a couple seconds and watch it again, you could see Wise Disciple kind of smirk when he does that.
Dude, that was epic. Look at that. Bart D. Ehrman. What a giga Chad. I've liked a lot of his work. He's got evangelical burn. Like, he was mistreated by the evangelical church. And when he figured out Sola Scriptura is a fraud, he did an absolute 180. When you read a lot of his kind of self-reporting on his
and he was in kind of a more fundamentalist type of thing. And so if you're fundamentalist in one direction and you decide that's wrong, you sometimes don't change your worldview. You just flip it around the other way, and then you kind of become fundamentalist. Well, if I prove that the Bible misaligns on this one fact in the Gospel of John, then the whole thing is false.
Dude, we got to get Bart D. Ehrman on, bro. We got to do it now. I've been reading his stuff for 20 years, man. I was
at the Fair Conference recently, and they have like a big book auction there. There was actually 2 of his books at the book auction. I considered getting them, but my suitcase was already pretty full as it is. So I passed it up.
What was it? Misquoting Jesus, Forged,
No,
Lost Christianities, Lost.
One of them was in the Apocalypse. It was a book he wrote after Misquoting Jesus, and then I don't remember the second one.
Okay.
The point being, let's go back to his little mic drop right here.
Okay, so here we go.
And watch Wise Disciple actually kind of smirk when he does it.
Okay.
who swear to what they saw, and that we're doing this impartially. No. Okay. Okay. Well, I've got 4 people from Moroni giving the plates, and these people are highly religious people. The religiosity was never questioned.
So again, this is just not true. Ehrman presents himself as someone who knows what he's talking about as a historian.
Oh my gosh. Wow. If you're going at the king, you better not miss. Saying Bart Ehrman doesn't know what he's talking about is pretty, you're going out on a limb. Let's keep going.
Okay, you can't sit here then and say that Ehrman is ignorant of the unraveling of the credibility of the other eyewitnesses to Moroni over time. And yet here he is trying to say, well, 4 against 2 is better. No, it's not. You have, in many scholars' opinions, 0 against Peter, James, and Paul, and Mary Magdalene.
Okay. Wise disciple. Apart from Bible.ca, I don't know what these other experts are that conclude that the witnesses of the Book of Mormon are not reliable. Let's go to some of the most famous ones, shall we? So,
is this one of these debunkings where it's just so absurd it's out of the realm of just intelligent discourse?
what do you mean by that? His claims are...
Yeah, for you to
the
come
problem
across... remember when we debunked Mike Winger?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Winger said, well, I'm an authority on Mormonism. I'm going to tell you all the secret things about Mormonism. And he started spinning these tales, how missionaries, like us, guys that actually serve to know what they're talking about, who spent 2 years in other countries, that they come home and that secretly the church has paid employees that unravel all of the truths that they learned from evangelicals throughout the day in order to keep their brainwashing up to spec and stuff and starts just weaving these sci-fi tales that are just so out there and bogus and detached from reality that you don't even know where to start the debunking, because it's just, how do you debunk somebody from a Christian perspective that says Jesus was a lizard person or a dinosaur? Or
the people who make YouTube videos and are like, well, obviously Jesus didn't even exist. And then it's how do you even respond to something at that level?
Yeah.
So
it's
let's actually go to the experts. Cardin, if we're talking more of the academic bent, scholarly, in-depth analysis, who are some of the main critics of Joseph Smith?
Nowadays or in the early days?
Nowadays. The experts you would look to for anti-Joseph Smith, not Mike Winger.
Well, they're not experts. I'd say the people with the biggest followings are the ex-Mormon, anti-Mormons, and the atheists.
No. The people who have looked at the most information, produced the most scholarship.
The people that have produced the most scholarship on anti-Mormonism?
I think I would say, specifically on Joseph Smith, I think I would say Fawn Brody did a biography, full biography.
Back in the 40s, though.
60s, maybe 70s.
Okay.
But until Rough Stone Rolling, that was kind of the big biography of Joseph Smith. And then number 2 is Dan Vogel. Produced 4 volumes or something. Dan Vogel has actually won...
Dan Vogel.
Cardin. Dan Vogel has won awards from Mormon institutions for his work on early Mormon document series. Actually, I think one of the witness statements
out of desperation to give somebody the award.
one of the statements that I quoted from the witnesses, it comes from Dan Vogel's early Mormon sources.
Oh no, I know he compiled a bunch of documents and published them.
Yeah, so he knows this stuff.
Okay.
Fawn Brody and Dan Vogel. Those are some of the 2 biggest ones. You're cramping my style. Because Fawn Brody, so this is the person that wrote a biography, an antagonistic biography on Joseph Smith. They said that the official witnesses were, this is the quote from Fawn Brody, the expert that Wise Disciples appealing to, were not conspirators, but victims of Joseph's unconscious but positive talent at hypnosis. So Fawn Brody's analysis is that Joseph Smith had an unconscious but positive talent of hypnosis, i.e. Fawn Brody believes that the witnesses were sincere in their testimonies. Okay?
That's hilarious. By the way, I did look it up, and I am defending myself against your vicious attacks of my pseudo-history. And guess when No Man Knows His History was written in 1945?
Oh,
It was in
Man,
the 40s, right in the middle.
Well, see, now that you showed I was wrong on one fact, that means I can't be trusted on everything. So according to Wise Disciples logic, all the other quotes that I've given, we throw them out now because of the hidden history of the lies that Luke Hansen has spread. So, and here's Dan Vogel, quote, Smith at least knew of the possibility of one person causing another to hallucinate, perhaps through strong suggestion or something like hypnosis. I.e., Dan Vogel has come to the conclusion that, for the most part, the witnesses of the Book of Mormon were sincere. Wise disciple, I don't know. And he said, like, all the experts. This is kind of, like, also inexcusable. He said all the experts basically have agreed that the witnesses are not to be trusted. Fawn Brody and Dan Vogel are like, yeah, the witnesses are to be trusted, but that's because they were, like, hypnotized or otherwise induced to believe this story that ultimately wasn't true. In fact, Dan Vogel... No, Cardin, this is too much time. This is too much of a digression. We can do a different video on this.
No, we gotta watch at least one part. This is the reminder that when people talk about Dan Vogel as though this guy walks on water.
Okay, this is going to be ad hominem.
This is going to be hilarious.
Okay, it is going to be hilarious. I agree with you. I was laughing a lot when I saw this, but this is ad hominem. Okay, this does not constitute an argument.
Just remember, this is who we're talking about here, all right? Dan Vogel, yeah!
Interested in serious discussion of Joseph Smith and Mormon origins? Well, you've come to the right place. My name is Dan Vogel, and I'm an award-winning author who has been publishing in this field for more than 30 years, and I'd like to share with you what I've found. The subject of Mormonism can be complex and confusing. This is largely due to the fact that it's been mired in controversy from day one of its founding.
He's got to switch his position.
On the 6th of April,
He's got to switch his position.
Oh, here comes a new camera angle.
New York.
Here it comes. Here's a new one.
Or as some argue, Fayette, New York. See what I mean?
Sure.
We'll be discussing that.
The fade.
Because I take a skeptical approach towards Joseph Smith and sometimes question the version of events.
Okay.
One
more camera angle.
Anti-Mormon persecution, which seems odd to me, given the fact that they are members of a church with one of the most aggressive missionary programs on the planet.
Switch it.
I don't think they would appreciate being called persecutors, or anti-Catholics, or anti-Presbyterians or Baptists.
Okay.
Yet they think nothing of proclaiming that all the other churches are false.
One more.
And that their creeds are an abomination in the sight of God.
Here it goes.
So, I hope that they will be as charitable towards me as they want others to be towards them.
Okay.
I will certainly discuss topics difficult for Mormons. And I will respectfully disagree with some Mormon scholars and apologists. But my main goal here is to explain more.
Okay. Just remember, this is the expert, bro.
Okay.
That's the expert.
That was hilarious. But it is still ad hominem just because it makes super cringe videos.
I make no argument. I just played the video. I did not know. It's not ad hominem unless you attack the person.
You made a claim. You made a claim that Dan Vogel, scholar, whatever. And then
all I did was say, just remember when they want to say that he is the big brain in the room, just remember this video. I did not tell people what to think about it. I let the video speak for itself.
No, you made a claim, and then you brought this video up in the context of that claim, and that is an ad hominem argument, okay?
Okay, you're right. It's completely ad hominem.
But it was hilarious.
Okay, keep going, bro. Keep going.
I don't even, where am I going? I don't know where I was. But, okay. Point being, but Dan Vogel's theory of the Book of Mormon has colloquially been called the pious fraud theory, meaning even Joseph Smith thought like he wasn't deceiving people. Well, he thought he was deceiving people, but like because he was supposed to, or like because God wanted him to. So like it's like the Joseph Smith was smelling his own farts theory is kind of basically what Dan Vogel has. So not only were the witnesses sincere, but Dan Vogel was saying that Joseph Smith was sincere.
So you got Fawn Brody.
And actually, Fawn Brody's kind of, I think she attributes more maliciousness to Joseph Smith than Dan Vogel does. I think. I haven't read the
she
whole
did the
biography.
same to Thomas Jefferson though too. I think she's the one that
Yeah.
Jonah Barnes did a really interesting thing where he wants to redeem the name of Thomas Jefferson. Like apparently,
That's interesting because Joseph Smith and Thomas Jefferson just so happen to be kind of the two people that Richard Bushman and I discussed in our interview.
yeah, I
About,
was
like,
I was
kind of-
reading that. I was reading this really interesting thing that he was showing me, and I don't quote me on this, but it was something along the lines of the author was saying, look, a lot of these attacks on the character of Thomas Jefferson, about him like sleeping with his own slaves and so on and so forth, actually came from the biography written by Fawn Brody.
Oh.
And her first big work was a biography of Thomas Jefferson. I think it just preceded the one of Joseph Smith by 2 or 3 years. It's what put her on the map, I believe.
Interesting.
And so, anyway, he said, whether she was being malicious or whether she just got her facts wrong, I'm sorry, but no, ma'am, that's not history, which hilariously enough is the name of the title of the book that Hugh Nibley wrote against Fawn Brody. And he says, we actually need to redeem the good name of Thomas Jefferson and show that what Fawn Brody accused him of is actually not real. And so that's going to be very intriguing. But now that is truly a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But okay, now that we've got
Okay, so the claim the wise disciple made was experts are like, yeah, these witnesses aren't sincere.
yeah.
Just not true. It's just not true. Generally, the people who have actually looked into this a lot, no matter how cringe the videos are that they make,
Yeah.
i.e. Dan Vogel, the people who have looked into this a lot and are still antagonistic towards the church conclude that the witnesses, for the most part, I mean, they might have little quibbles here and there, but for the most part, the witnesses are sincere and did sincerely believe that they had some sort of experience. So it's just wrong. It's just, why is disciple? He's just wrong.
Yeah.
He's just wrong, man.
Is there one more clip left?
Yeah, there's one more clip, and at this point, I have forgotten what it is because
0 eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
That's clip number 7.
Yep.
Okay, clip number 7. Here we go.
That would be 2.
Oh no, it's the same
I'm
thing
saying
again.
that in the case of Maroney.
Oh, okay. So I think we have gotten to the end of it then.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah. Oh, whatever.
So we ended on Dan Vogel. Oh, it's so beautiful. Like, I'm sorry, but like, by your fruits you shall know them. If all your scholarship has left you with is a really bad 1990s Tinder profile on your YouTube page, I don't know. I'm sorry, man.
Dan
I'm
Vogel.
sorry.
Dan
He's
Vogel.
come into the comments. He's come into the comments on debates that I've participated in, completely mischaracterizing my responses.
Okay.
And completely mischaracterizing everything from my intentions, and he's totally ad hominem here. So it's like, come on, everybody that claims, "Oh, don't say ad hominem," shut up. Dan Vogel's gone totally ad hominem against. I didn't even know who the guy was before I was responding to just hateful, crappy, pseudo historical and toxic comments he was making on our YouTube channel. So it's like,
you might like him a little more after another video that we do.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
he's
Okay.
gonna. He's at a 0 right now. I'm not promising he's gonna go to an 8, 9, or 10, but he might get up to a 3 after the next one that we do.
Okay,
So that's a
I'm
little
just saying
teaser.
that like these experts, like what the same experts said Donald Trump was a Russian asset flipped in the 70s to like take over America and was seriously like butt buddies with Putin or something like that. Like we literally as a country had to listen to our media telling us that like our president was a Cold War spy for 2 years because the expert said so. And 6 feet, oh, that stops the spread, dude. 6 feet, man, that stops the spread, bruh.
Well,
it just
to go back to the witnesses, I think that this is a great line of, because you do want to argue from your best position, and the witnesses are a very strong position. So I do credit people who try to tackle them, including Dan Vogel and even Wise Disciple. I do credit them trying to tackle it instead of always sticking on the 5 Bible quotes we always go to, the Book of Abraham and polygamy. you know, the Book of Mormon witnesses are a little intense to cover because when you look at them deeply, they stack up pretty much as well as the disciples of Christ do. And another interesting thing, oh yeah, look at the bottom of that website that you probably got all this information from. This is when you scroll all the way to the bottom and you could, but then when you go to the bottom, you got like this little rabid, there we go. It's like a rabid dog biting a vaccine thing, and then there's like the evolution, and it's all like 90s. Weird, looks like weird rectangle together shaped thing with like truth with a green arrow pointing at the dove, and it's
Dude, that's funny,
and
man.
and that's also ad hominem. See?
Yeah.
See? I am not claiming that just because the site looks this janky, it therefore has nothing of value or truth to say. That is not my argument. I'm pointing it out for comedic purposes.
Okay, cool, man.
Okay,
right,
so
anything else?
yeah, witnesses stack up very well. And here's just one more little point at the end here. These witnesses are coming from the 1830s, okay? So we don't know. We don't have the secondhand gossip that went around about that thing that Paul said when he was really tired that one night in Corinth.
We're getting punished for good
and he
record
was
keeping.
and he was really frustrated with James because of the disagreement that they had about such and such doctrinal issue. And then someone claimed that night he said, "Is this all worth it?" And then that was reinterpreted to mean, oh, see, he's promoting a lie, and that lie is starting to fall apart. So he's wondering if this deception. We don't have that kind of secondhand, vast amount of different hundreds of sources like we do for the Book of Mormon witnesses. And so despite having all that extra secondhand stuff that's come through history that can tend to muddy and cloud the picture more than just kind of like these very crisp, clean 27 books of the New Testament that got through history from 2,000 years ago, even with all that stuff added on, the 3 witnesses and the 8 witnesses, because you can't dismiss them out of hand, the 11 witnesses of the Book of Mormon, and that's add in Sidney Rigdon, and that's add in Mary Whitmer and all these other people, they come across very strongly, especially compared to the witnesses of the Book of Mormon. So if you are somebody who is not a member of the church, if you are somebody who is more on Wise Disciples' opinion on this, thank you for making it to the end of the video. I apologize for where your feelings might have been. It probably was hard for you to get to the end of it. So if you did, I appreciate it. And just maybe reconsider. Like, I'm not even asking you to join the church right now, to go call the missionaries right now, but just at the very least say, you know what, next time I want to bring up the witnesses, I'm not going to say what Wise Disciple said, or I'm going to at least research this a little more before I start saying what Wise Disciple said. It's a very modest ask that I'm making right now, but I think it would help both sides. So I'm just asking it for members of the church. Look into this stuff, and don't be afraid in conversations if people are trying to Book of Abraham you, polygamy you, Gish Gallop, just dump to topic of criticisms they have of the church. Don't feel afraid to step in and say, all right, you've gone through 5 things already. Can I bring something that I think is really strong about the church? And maybe bring up the witnesses, especially if they're a Christian, and kind of call them out on it and ask them to explain their side, and make that an equal conversation of back and forths going on there. And I think that'll help the dialogue. So that's me.
Okay. My version of that is just shorter. I think these people are smug because they have an appeal to authority, and that authority was the Christian right of the 80s and 90s, which ruled with an iron fist full of shame. If you made a movie they didn't like, they'd shame you and try and get it canceled. If you wrote a book that they didn't like, they'd shame you. If you made an album that they didn't like, they'd shame you. And it's a shame-based movement that is cruel and was the precursor of cancel culture. Like, the most toxic aspect of the 21st century is cancel culture. And it was invented by the Christian right in the 80s and 90s. And these people have their smug little, there's zero evidence for X, Y, or Z thing, because they think they're appealing to a power structure that, frankly, is a whited sepulcher that is built on a foundation of sand that has already eroded out from underneath them. Like the church in North America has been gutted. Nobody goes. There's the rise of the nuns. We're no longer a Christian nation. The North American church has been gutted because people got sick and tired of it and basically just stopped going. Oh yeah, all except for one or two.
could that
Jews and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And
you know,
you might throw in like traditional, like Latin Mass.
Oh
Catholics.
yes, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
What I should have said is kind of like of the non-Catholic. We're not Protestant, but oftentimes when we're put into the surveys, we're included in Protestant. But anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this was fun. It was awesome. One last shout out for Witnessing Miracles, Historical Evidence for the Resurrection and the Book of Mormon, written by Josh Gailey. He's a lot kinder of a person than me. I just get tired of these people and then just get cranky and start saying stuff. But it's all in here. And it's also in there. What's another book that they can read?
This is one of the classics, Investigating the Book of Mormon Witnesses by Richard Lloyd Anderson. I think it came out in like the 70s. It's got a lot of good information.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, check those out. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. And as always, for this and more, please check us out at wardradio.com.
Can't keep quiet when you start a riot.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. We assume if you made it this far that you liked our content, so please make sure you like this video and you share it with your friends. Now, in order to keep this content flowing freely, we need your help. If you're a person of means, please check us out on Venmo, the Cash App, or Zelle and consider a direct contribution to the channel. Or you could always go to wardradio.com and sign up for our newsletter there and receive all of our latest Ward Radio news articles directly to your inbox. And while you're there, maybe consider purchasing some merch. We have some really cool hats, some really cool shirts, so you can strut your stuff and support the channel that way. Or if you're a kind of person that wants to just help out with some of the equipment in the studio, we have an Amazon wish list linked in the description as well. And don't forget scripturenotes.com. You have to read your scriptures daily, and scripturenotes.com is frankly the coolest way to study your scriptures, and they're a very generous sponsor of this channel. So please consider a free trial with scripturenotes.com. The link to Scripture Notes will also be in the description of this video. Either way, whether you're pressing this little button right here to subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends, or whether you are actually hitting this button right here just to watch another video, we look forward to seeing you in the next program.